Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. So in today's session we are going to discuss about flex field, the sequence of setting up the flex field and the rollover rates. So these are the topics we are going to discuss, and in our previous session we have discussed about the benefit options, benefit plan types, benefit plans, benefit programs, how we can create the eligibility profile, different eligibility profiles, how we can create the drive factor, how we can link drive factor to the eligibility profile, how we can create the benefit groups. So these are the topics we have already discussed. So let's start today's session. So what are the flex fields? So flex fields are the monetary units, and workers use the flex credit to offset the cost of a specific plan enrollment. So basically it's a money that goes in as an earning, and then it's used to offset the cost of benefit, and then depending upon whether the employee uses all of their credits or not, organization can decide whether they are going to allow them to keep part of their rollover, whether they have to forfeit it. So those are the setting within our configuration. So you can create flex credit offerings if you want to implement any of the benefit offering listed here, right? So cafeteria style plans offered in the US, and benefit plans to comply with the ERISA Act, and benefit plans offered in other countries that enable workers to buy benefit from an allowance, and the benefit offering that provide flex fields but are not necessarily recognized by a government agencies. So this is about the flex credits. Moving ahead, how we can define a flex credit policy for your enterprise. So you can create a flex credit shell plan to define your flex credit policy. So the way that it works in cloud benefit is you create credit pools to calculate and maintain your credit. You will define which benefit offering participant can buy with those credit, and decide whether participant can overspend. Okay, so what that mean is, let's say that you are giving me a credit of $50. Okay, but there's a benefit out there that's a $65. So can I go ahead and enroll in that plan because it over the amount of credit that you are supplying, right? And they decide the order in which you want to deal with excess credit that might remain after the enrollment. So that's how you can define a flex credit policy. Then we have sequence of setting up flex credit. So 4 step to this process. You will create your flex program, you will create your benefit object, you will create a flex credit shell plan, and then associate your flex program with the flex shell plan, and we will see how all this fit together. Now next we have the component of the shell plan. So when we add your flex program to the flex shell, you are defining values by the program name and the legal entity. So the reason that is done is because a single program could be used across multiple legal entity, and maybe some of the legal entities are offerings to flex credit and others are not. So it's always going to be a combination of both program and the legal entity. And then you will set up your flex standard rates, and then decide to credit pools and where they are going to apply in the flex shell plan. So this is how you can create the component. Then we have the number of flex credit shell plans. So when you create a flex shell credit plan, you must select an enrollment mode for the shell plan. In other section of this part, the benefit part. So then we had unrestricted enrollment also. So life event programs have plans and options that require a qualifying event to make a changes. So unrestricted is where there doesn't need to be any type of life event. A person can just go in and make changes whenever they feel like it. Okay, so well, we can create an entire program that's unrestricted. So that's what this is talking about here in the unrestricted area. And the enrollment mode determines the type of program that you can associate with the flex plan. So if I select a flex cell plan of unrestricted, then I can only include unrestricted program. Okay, and if I say that I want the life event flex program, then I can only attach program that are not unrestricted. So you can see here you have two types of program and cell plan. This is for the unrestricted and this is for the life event. Okay, so moving ahead, let's see about the unrestricted and life event enrollments mode. So we have two types of mode. First is a unrestricted, second is a life event. So unrestricted only programs enabled for the unrestricted enrollment, and life event only programs are not enabled for unrestricted enrollment. So these are the two modes we have when we create the flex cell plan. So let's moving ahead in the program type and the flex credit shell plan. So when we define our benefit program, when we took a look in the section of the benefit session, so how program can we create it? We discussed a program type, right? So let's again go to the application and see where we can create this. So for the benefit, we have to go to the benefit administration and log in as a implementation user, and then we have to go to the plan configuration option. And let's search for any existing program. So you will notice that we have choice program here and then choice program core. So see this program type here, you can see here program type. Here we have these two types. First is a flex credit plus core and second is a core. So this flex credit plus core, this one, so it's an actual setting on the basic details of the program when you select the program type for your program, right? So let's just open this one. Here under the program type you can make that selection in order for the program to be a part of it. So this one could be the part of it, the flex credit plus core, and the other one is a core. If we see that in the program type, this one is a core. So when we create our program, we can select the program type. Like I just click on the create option here, and in the program type we can see here the options, the core, the flex credit plus cores, and the other. So these are the program type option. When you create your program, you can decide what do you want to create. So moving ahead, our next topic which we have is a flex credit shell plan. So this talks about credit pools here. Basically, a credit pool is going to maintain your credit value that the participant can use at specific levels in the benefit hierarchy. So you can define credit pools in the credit pools tab when you create a flex cell program, right? So you maintain credit pools at the program level, and so by simply being eligible for the program, I'm going to get that money to spend, right? So you can maintain them at the plan in a program level. So if I go to enroll in an HMO plan or a PPO plan, and there is a credit at that level, then I will receive that money. Or it could also be configured at the option level in the program. Okay, so we are going to see when we go into our configuration, that will select our calculation method to determine the credit pool's value. And then for each credit pool that you are going to configure, you have to select spending options. So if I am getting this money, where I can spend it, right? What am I allowed to buy with it? And if I did not spend all the money that you have given me, what do you want to do with the excess monies that were associated with that pool? So these are the things with the credit pools option in the benefits. So for the spending option, you will define which benefit offerings participant can spend their credits on. Then you add the rates of the offering that must be deducted from the credit pools when participant enroll. And then you will define your rules that define how you want to deal with anything that they did not spend. Right? So spending option will help you in that time. So next we have here flex credit rate, but first we want to discuss this standard rate. So when we are defining these credit, we are looking for a combination of program and legal entity, and it's always going to be that combination, right? So when we select the combination of program and legal entity, we need to define rates for the flex credit pool and for the credit disbursed as a cash. So you have to create these element for the flex standard rates. So moving ahead with the flex standard rates, the flex standard rates will store total amount of flex credit available to the participant. When we say total amount, because we can have a credit pools at the program and at different plans and at different option, we can create that combination. So the rate is going to store the total amount of flex credit available, the aggregate flex credit value from all of the credit pool in the hierarchy, and value stored in a payroll element. So the rate for the unused credit disbursed as a cash will be the total amount of unused credit to disburse. So it's not like if they did not use the money at the program level credit pool, they are going to get $1 amount for that. No. And if they didn't spend all their money for let's say their PPO health plan, that they are going to get a different amount for that. It's going to be an aggregate of, right? So the rates that you are receiving are going to be an aggregate, and if you are ending up with any cash in your pocket because you did not spend it all, it's going to be an aggregate. So that's how it works when you did not spend your money. Okay, so we have got different option for what to do with excess money, right? So excess flex credit are disbursed as cash based on the minimum and maximum limit that you set in the component, right? So let's talk about minimums and the maximum. Let's say that you set the minimum cash disbursement limit to the $50, and if your excess credit are $40 during the enrollment, then no cash is disbursed, right? And then the next parameter would be used, which would be the rollover rate. Alright, so it could be a forfeited, right? It just depend on where you have the disbursement. But when you set the minimum of $50, if a person does not at least have that minimum, then they are not going to receive anything. Okay, so conversely, if you set the maximum cash disbursement limit to $80, if the excess credit are $100, then only $80 is disbursed before the next component and the rules start to process. So when we talk about rollover maximums, in this case your flex credit are going to be transferred to other offering based on the minimum and the maximum limit, right? So that you are set for the each rollover rate associated with the flex cell. So these things could roll over to the HSA and to the FSAs. So you just decide where you might want it to roll. And then obviously we said if you are needing to do something super complex, you could write a formula for that. And then obviously forfeited all means they get nothing. Okay, so moving ahead into the rollover rate. So here we are going to talk about the rollover rate. And so rollover rate is a rate that you can figure for a benefit offering to enable rollover of a credit into that actual offering. And it's pretty common to see these things going into an FSA or an HSA. The sequence for creating a rollover rate would be create the rollover rate using the benefit rate task, and then add the rollover rate to the flex cell plan using the flex credit configuration task, and we will take a look at that. So let's just go to the application and see this. So we have to go to the rates and coverages option, and here we are going to search the flex. So here you can see the flex rollover, right? I'm just going to open it. So I'm going to just click on the correct. So the edit mode is open now. So there are new fields that appears because of the fact that we have selected a rollover rate, especially the rate for the limit enforcement, and the fact that we are allowing a rollover of the flex credit here, right? So when we are rolling to something like an HSA or an FSA, we need to ensure that a person doesn't exceed their annual limit. Okay, so by selecting the rate that you want to enforce, if a person has excess credit but they have already met their annual limit for their particular rollover, then the software will not apply the amounts because the person already met their yearly maximum, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of the credit pools. So again we have to go to the slides. Here in this example we have got a credit pool at a plan level, right? So the credit is $40, the participant spent $20, and we have a $20 balance. So here we are showing you that we are going to roll over the $10, right? And we are going to disburse the $5, and then we are going to forfeit it the rest. right? And then in the next example, we have the credit pool at the program and the plan level. Here you can see the program and the plan level. So program level is a $60 credit. The spending up options that we are allowing at the program level is for our commuter plan, and which is a $10, right? So that will leave $50 at the program level for BWell medical, right? So we have got a $10 credits here for the BWell medical plan, and we are allowing overspending here. Okay, so the participants select employee only, which is a $15 here, and a $15 charge here, and so there is a no excess credit because we have overspent, right? So in this case we might have an example of our $50 balance might send the $10 cash to $10 a saving plan, right? Then the participant would be forfeiting the $30. So that's how this pools at the multi-level and overspending works. So here in this case we have got a participant that enroll in a medical plan, employee plus spouse option, and the commuter plan. Okay, here you can see the two plans under the one program here. So what will happen here is the credit pool that are provided at the option pool is a $10 here, right? So we are taking the $10 from the employee plus one option. Okay, the employee plus one option, or we can say employee plus spouse. Okay, so we are adding that to the program level. Prevent and credits provide at the plan level are 20, and then the credit provided by the program are the 60. So the total credits at the program level is now $90, the enrollment cost of the commuter plan, and the employee plus spouse option are 30. Okay, so resulting in a credit balance after deducting the enrollment cost from the credits of the $60. So the excess credit treatment rule treats the credit balance of 60 in this case in our example. So credit transfer to a saving plan are $10, okay, and which leaves a balance of 50, and after that credit disbursed as a cash is 30, so which leaves a balance of 20, right? And then the credit forfeited, so which would be remainder of the $20, and that would bring our balance to 0. So now that we have seen some examples, so let's just go to the application and let's just take a look at our flex credit configuration. So we have to go to the task panel here, the configuration, and here we have to open the flex credit configuration. Just search. So you can see that here we have got our legal entity flex shell. So we said there could be a legal entity and an unrestricted. So here we have the legal entity, right? So here you can see, let's open the first in the edit mode, in the mode option, so that you can see here that this mode is a live event, right? Means only program that are restricted can be a part of this configuration. But when we talk about the flex credit configuration, we discussed about the two modes here. First is the live event, second is the unrestricted. So for this flex credit, we have the live event mode. Okay, and then we have the year periods here. So you have got your year period just like you do at your programs and the plans level, right? And at the bottom you can see the list of programs that have already been attached here, right? So if I just go to the next step, the rate steps, here we have to select our program. Make sure you select your program so the details change accordingly. Then we need to make sure that we are selecting our correct legal entity here. So let's say so now you can see here all the details are changed, right? So but when we did not select any legal employer here, there's a nothing displaying in the section here, the rate for the flex credit and rate for the unused here. So at the first section here, rate for the flex credit provided as a pool, the rate store and aggregate flex credit values from the credit pools that you may have defined at the appropriate levels in the benefit hierarchy. So what details are we using to get up the money into the person's paycheck, which payroll element, right? Here we can add those things. And in the rate for the unused credit pool, credit disbursed as a cash, so then if you are going to allow people to take some of their disbursement as a cash, so how are they going to see that further cash definition, right? So one of the function is in the excess credit treatment rule, disburse. If I'm just going to click and correct, so you can see the more information here. And one of the function is the excess element input, right? And that this rate is stored in a payroll element. So the total number of unused credit that you want to disburse as a cash, so you can define here those setting. And then we will go to the next step, which is a credit pools here. So again we need to make sure that we are selecting our program and our legal entity. So we can see that right now we have got one credit pool defined here, and that's at the program level, right? You can see here. So you can certainly add pools here by clicking on the add credit pools and give the name. Here you can see that you can give the name and the credit pool credit provider plan here, and according to the plan you select here, the option are visible here. Okay, and you can check this box on to add credit to the program level pool. If you deselect it, so your credits are not going to add in the program level, right? I'm just going to discard these changes. So here you can see the credit provided tab. So use here you can use your calculation method. Just click on the correct. Here you can see your calculation method, such as flat amount, right, and to determine the flex credit pools value. So you have got the different option for the calculation here, and then here you can define your amount, and then we have the spending option. So you have to indicate where these credits can be used. So you would attach your different rates, select rates of different offerings, right, and that you can allow the overspending, and you have to define your overspending limit percentage here, right? So that must deduct from the flex credit pools on the enrollment. So these are the things in the spending option. Then we move on to the access credit here. What are we going to do with your access credits? Are you going to allocate access credit automatically, right? You can allow here by check this box on, and decide how you want to deal with any access credit that remains after enrollment in the spending options. So you can define here, and then if you have decided to set any cash disbursement rule or limit, you have got some option to select here. And for the access treatment also, so this is where we discussed earlier in this session. So if I have also explain you that the minimum is $50 here. You can select here. If you select amount here, so you can define amount, and if you select your credits here, you can define your minimums and the maximum amount here. So for example, $50 is a minimum in order to have a cash disbursement, but the person only has a $40, right? So $40 of the credit left, so then no credits are going to the role here. And so the key is just make sure that you are on the right program, just select the right legal entity, and then obviously you are going to apply your definition at the appropriate levels. So these are the treatment rule. We also discussed it, and the disbursed maximum, rollover maximum, then forfeited, and if you want to rollover maximum, disburse maximum, then forfeited. And if you want to forfeited all the amount, all the excess amount, you can forfeited it. And if you want to want some calculation for that, so you can add the formula here. Let's create the flex credit plan. Then we create the rollover rate. So for that we have to go to the overview option. Then we have to go to the program and plans. Okay, for creating the plan type, we have to go to the task panel and then go to the plan type here. Let's set the effective start date first. Okay, so we have to give the meaningful name here. Then in the option type we are going to select the flex credit here. Okay, then we have to just save and close. So yeah, that's the easiest way to create your flex plan type. Now we are going to create the rollover rate. So we have to go to the overview, then rates and coverage, and under standard rates here we have to select the rollover rate. Make sure change the session effective date here. Then we have to give the rate name. So let's say then we have to add the plan name here. So let's search if any existing. Okay, we have to add the flexible spending account. Then we have to set the status here. The rate usage in the rate level is already populated here. Then we have to select the legal employer. We can say the legal entity. And then here you can define your rate for the limits enforcement. Sorry. And then here you can add your short name and short code, but it's allow your rollover the flex credit. That's why here we don't have any values. Okay, let's move to the payroll information. So here you can define your activity type, the unit of measures, and if you are going to allow element and inputs value are required or not, and what's your text type code here. So these are the information you can select for your rollover rate. I'm just going to save and close these information. Okay. Let's change here. Yeah, it's pretext. Okay, let's save and close. I thought there is a after text selected here. Okay, now we have to change the program flex credit. So if we move on to the programs and plan, then let's search existing program. And let's say if we want to change our program type, so we can change into flex credit plus core, both, not only the core. So you can receive this warning: you have changed the program type, additional setup choice for this program will be changed. So if you want to continue this, like if you want to configure your flex credit, so you can just click on the yes option here. Okay, so moving ahead into the next, we have our displaying and grouping plan type for the enrollment. So you can configure how to group and display plans on each step in the self-service guided enrollment process and each administrator enrollment tab. So we can group plans for the enrollment and configure for the enrollment display. So we will take a look at first and how we group that. So let's just again go to the application. Let's cancel this. Okay, we have to go to the plan type option. Let's search if there's any medical plan type. So here you can, I'm just going to open edit mode. Here you can see the self-service grouping and the administrative grouping, right? So these two fields are where do you want to the plan for this plan type to display for the self-service process, and where do you want to the plan in this plan type to display for the administrative, for the administrators, right? So this is where you can define the displaying and grouping the plan types for the enrollment. Okay, so this is about today's session, how we can create the flex credit, how we can create the rollover rates, and where we can define where we want to display and group the plan types for the enrollments. So thank you so much for giving your time.